Here's what nobody told us. The reason why we keep ending up in the same place, choosing the same people, getting into the same relationships, feeling the same emptiness no matter what we achieve, it didn't start with us. And a glow up was never gonna fix it. Let me explain. I wanna tell you why I actually made this channel. I genuinely got so sick of all the superficiality of watching our generation chase money, chase glow ups, chase followers, chase the perfect body, chase the aesthetic, chase the apartment, chase the looks, and then get there and then still feel nothing. And I was one of those people until one day I stopped and I asked myself, I was like, wait a minute, why? Why are we doing everything that we were supposed to do, everything that the people around us told us to want, and still feel lonely and still feel lost, feel like something is fundamentally missing even when on the outside it looks like it's working? We are a traumatized generation, and a glow up will never fix it. I think that when most people hear the word trauma, they think of something extreme, like an accident, a war, but that's not the type of level of trauma that we're talking about here. I'm currently reading this book called The Body Keeps the Score. It's a psychiatrist that spent over 30 years studying trauma, making this book. One of the most important things that he documented is that trauma is far more common and far more deeply embedded into our bodies and into our nervous systems way more than we realize. Trauma literally reshapes the brain. It rewires areas that are dedicated to pleasure, trust, engagement, self-control, and it doesn't just live in our memory, it lives in our body, in our nervous system. The things that you may try to move on from in life are literally always gonna be embedded in your body. Unless you properly heal from it, then you're always gonna be acting from that wounded place, because the body keeps the score with everything that you went through in life from when you were an infant. And the trauma that we're talking about here is not one single dramatic event. It's basically everything that led you up to this point of your life. It's the childhood that emotions may have not felt safe. The environment where you had to be perfect or invisible or strong or small. It's basically an accumulation of all the moments that you learned that the world was not a safe place to be fully yourself in. And that kind of trauma doesn't really announce itself. It just shapes you quietly. It shapes your character quietly. How you respond to conflict, who you're attracted to, what you're attracted to, how much you believe you deserve, whether you can receive love without waiting for it to be taken away. I feel like we are trying to fix this trauma through things that were never meant to fix it. But it's only because we don't truly understand how to reach a point of actually healing ourselves. So many of us, at one point of their life, myself included, we're trying to fill a hole, or we're trying to fill a void with things that were never designed to fill that hole. A new job, a relationship, a better body, more followers, another glow up, and it never worked. Getting a promotion does not heal that part of you that never felt good enough. Getting a better body does not heal that part of you that was taught that your worth lives in how you look. Getting into a relationship doesn't heal the part of you that never learned how to feel safe with another person. And then we keep wondering why we feel so empty. We keep wondering why, after getting that thing that we thought that we always wanted and that was gonna make us happy or make us feel successful or make us feel worthy, we keep wondering what is wrong with us. And here's the thing with healing. No, not a lot of people will tell you this, but it actually gets worse before it gets better. And this is where I feel like a lot of people will start giving up on their healing process or healing journey. You know, there will be moments, weeks even, that you feel way worse than before you started. When something that you thought that you had processed completely knocks you off your feet. Because the thing is with healing, it's never a straight line. It's always like a spiral. It's very like back and forth. You will keep on revisiting that emotion over and over again till you properly heal from it. But they keep coming back weaker and weaker every time. Because each time you return to them, you're not approaching it from the same place. You're actually approaching it from a higher level of understanding and a higher and a bigger capacity to fully get it. When you start making change in your life, at first your body will try to protect you, and it's going to have so much resistance to all of those feelings and emotions. So it's literally going to disrupt your life. Setting boundaries that have never been set, feeling the things that you have been numb to all your life, changing the patterns or changing the habits that have been ruining or sabotaging your whole life for years, because everything was basically organized around those old patterns. So your nervous system, your relationships, your job, your perspective, like how you see life basically. And then when you do come to change those patterns, the old ways start to shake. It may feel like a disruption, but it's actually not. It's actually changed. Over a year ago, I started going into therapy, and I feel like this was the catalyst for me to start healing. It basically opened up ways that I didn't know were closed, and it's been on my to-do list for like a really long time, and something in me just kept putting it off. But here's what I actually genuinely believe. I feel like it's not about the information that we're missing, but it's actually about the permission that we give to ourselves. I feel like I have been sitting around so much information for years, information on how to start healing, and on looking into the parts of myself that I have been avoiding all along for so many years. It was basically about allowing myself to start looking into these parts, because information is not the only thing that you need to get started. It's actually allowing yourself to start, like permission to actually sit with yourself and ask yourself, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep choosing these situations even though I say that I don't want it? Why do I choose the bad relationships? Why do I choose people that hurt me? Why do I choose people that betray me? Why do I keep getting into the same jobs that I said that I hate? Why does this pattern keep showing up? Why does this feel so familiar even though I know in my conscious mind that it's bad for me? So now that we've talked about how trauma lives in the body, I want to go deeper, and I want to talk about a newer field of science, and it's called epigenetics. Trauma does not only live in your body, but it can also live in your DNA. Not in a way that like changes your genetic code, like your DNA stays the same, but in a way that changes which genes can get switched on and off. And it was done on a study of 3 generations of war refugees, and they found that women that went through or experienced war-related violence have had altered epigenetic markings in their DNA, but so did their grandchildren. Children who had never experienced war directly, who were born after it, but they were still carrying biological signature that their grandmother went through. So your grandmother's pain, your mother's anxiety, these things were not talked about in the olden days because it just wasn't as common to talk about it before. But here's where I need you to stay with me. The same scientists that discovered that trauma leaves epigenetic marks in your body also found that these marks are not permanent. Epigenetic modifications are reversible. They change in response to environment and experience, which means the same mechanism that passed down this wound to you with the right conditions can also update it. For instance, one study that was made on how combat veterans with PTSD who went through CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, showed epigenetic changes after treatment. Basically, the healing was reflected in the DNA, not just in how they felt, but in their actual DNA, which means when you genuinely heal, you're not just feeling better, you're potentially rewriting the story for the generations that are to come after you. Healing yourself is not for yourself, it's generational. And what does all of this actually look like in your life, in your real life? It looks like this. You keep ending up in the same relationships that you'd swore you would never end up in again. You keep choosing the same emotionally unavailable people or inconsistent that make you feel that you have to earn their affection. This is what your nervous system has learned, probably before you were even old enough to name it, that this is what love feels like. What your nervous system does is that it scans every room for the same frequency, looking for that familiar feeling, looking for the same familiar frequency. It could also look like self-sabotage right before success. You work incredibly hard towards something, and then you get so close to it, and then something happens. You miss the deadline. You start to fight. You disappear. You suddenly decide that it's not what you wanted after all. And not because you don't want it, but it's actually because success is unfamiliar territory, and your nervous system interprets unfamiliar as unsafe. It also looks like your limiting beliefs are facts. People always end up leaving me. I'm not smart enough. I don't deserve this. Things just never work out for me. Those don't feel like beliefs. They're not your reality. They are conclusions that your nervous system has drawn out from previous experiences and has basically been confirming that to you ever since by filtering everything that you perceive through that lens. And it also shows up in your body. You've processed it in your mind, but your shoulders are still tense. Your chest still tightens in certain situations. Your sleep is still disrupted, because the body didn't finish the conversation that your mind tried to end early. And there's also one more thing that I want to add about healing. Like when you actually start to heal and when you start to genuinely change your patterns, start setting the right boundaries, start showing up as somebody with needs, and someone that isn't, infinitely available, some people in your life will not like it. Some people may tell you that you've changed. It may feel that they're saying it in a bad way, like a complaint. And here's why. Because the version of you that had no boundaries, that was always accommodating, that made yourself feel so small so that everyone else around you didn't feel any discomfort, that version was very easy for certain people to be around. Not because it was good for you, but it was because it was convenient for them. And this is why you feel that you are losing, because letting go of old patterns that didn't serve you, it sometimes feels like a loss of people, or loss of relationships, or loss of jobs, because some of these relationships were kind of rooted in dysfunction, but you didn't know it back then. And it may actually take you some time to fully grieve these relationships. Just so you know, you need to take your time with it, because this grief is real and it's meant to be honored. But it does not mean that you should go back. You may feel lonely. That's just the reality of growth. But it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It just means that it's real. And the people that are gonna be right for you are those that will find you. But first, you have to become that version of yourself. And this is what it's actually gonna take you. It's gonna require you to start feeling things that you have spent years not feeling and have just been numbing it out. Your nervous system was actually numbing it out for a reason. It was protecting you, and feelings that you have suppressed your entire life don't just disappear. They come back with everything that you've been trying to push deeper and deeper and deeper. It's basically gonna require you to question everything that you thought was a fact, the beliefs that you have about yourself, about relationships, about your self-worth and what you deserve. Most of them were actually formed before you were even conscious enough to evaluate if they were right or wrong. They are just conclusions that have been made up by people before you ever existed. And these are not permanent. You can always give yourself the permission to question them and to kind of audit them. And again, it requires understanding that this healing is not just for you. Every pattern that you break, every wound that you process before you pass it on to the next generations, every moment that you choose differently from the generation before you, that changes everything. It changes what you carry, and it will change what your children will carry. And again, this all changed for me when I stopped trying to fill that void with things that were never meant to fix it, and instead I gave myself the access to information and to experiences that helped me understand myself better. And I just didn't want to keep that to myself. And I felt it deep in my soul that I just have to put it out there, just in case somebody on the other side of the world is watching this and they perhaps need this to give themselves the permission to actually start getting curious, to look deeper into themselves. And you know what I genuinely believe? This isn't just about me. Because we're all connected on this earth, and that you don't just do something for yourself, like there's always a higher power, there's always something way bigger than you. And I just feel like healing is one of the most meaningful things that you can just do with your time here on earth. This is not about having it all figured out, but it's just about be curious enough to look.